step for man, one giant leap for mankind.
What is up, guys? Tyson De La Cruz here. Thank you so much for rocking with me. Today is Friday. Friday, March 28th, 2025. Shout out to everybody catching this on the live. If you're catching this on the live, come on in. If you're catching this on the replay, type in replay in the comment section down below. And as always, just as a duly note, I'll place timestamps at the bottom of this in the description down below once the video is uploaded so you can bounce back and forth from story to story. Ideally, I want you to watch the whole thing. But before you do any of all of that, smash the like button. It does help with the YouTube algorithms. Let's get a roll call going on. How's everybody's Friday going on today? What's up, my mind? What is up, Rob? This is your second, I believe it's your second week at your new job. So kudos, right? Second week. What's up, Patrick Kennedy? Patrick Kennedy in the house. Jessica, what is going on? Terry, what is up? Jax, Little Santana, what is going on? Emily, what is up? What is up? Hope everybody's doing amazing. How was everybody's day today? Did everybody have a good day today? I want to know. I want to know. What is up, Catherine? Catherine, Arizona in the house. Let's go. Let's go. Maria, love the intro. Doing well. Oh, before we jump into that real quick, I want to give a huge shout out to the moderators in the chat. Shout out to the mods in the chat. Always do amazing. And then shout out to everybody catching this on the live. Let's go. I am doing amazing today. Freedom. I'm doing amazing. Beautiful weather out here in Las Vegas. Actually, I'm kind of exhausted a little bit. I had a phone call. Do you guys know of anybody or talk to anybody that after you talk to them on the phone, you just feel exhausted? And actually, you didn't even really do much of the talking. And I had one of those conversations today. I had a phone call. I didn't really do much talking. I was just listening. They were venting. I call them like they're just sucking my vibe. They're sucking the energy out of me. Energy suckers. It was. I felt I had to go outside. I had to walk around. I was exhausted, just venting to me. I'm like, I didn't call you back for this crap. I just called you back because I thought you needed something, and you just. Energy vampires, that's what they are. Oh, man. Oh, boy. Yeah, they're energy vampires. That's, yes, I know the feeling just by listening. It is absolutely exhausting. You almost have to call another person to almost like, deflect the crap that you just went through with the person. Anyways, other than that, doing good. Working on another project out here in Vegas, so that should be in the next couple weeks. I'm excited for that. Anyways, let's jump into this. Energy vampires. There should be a shirt for them. Energy vampires. Anyways, let's jump in. Let's jump into the Friday show. Shout out to everybody again. Really, really appreciate you guys. Today's episode is brought to you by Common Sense. Common Sense, which unlike the COVID funds in Chicago, hasn't been mysteriously canceled yet. Let's kick off things today with a big fat W for American taxpayer. Trump's Interior Department just raked in $40 million from oil and gas lease sales. That's right. While California is still trying to power cities with seaweed and unicorn farts, Trump's over here unlocking American energy dominance, just like it's a hidden DLC pack. Shout out to the Trump administration, who basically said, you want clean air? Try prosperity first. Meanwhile, over in Greenland, things are getting a little chillier than Kamala Harris's approval rating, while Vice President J.D. Vance just torched Denmark's failure to secure the world's largest ice cube. Denmark's mad that Trump still wants it, and Trump's mad that they didn't gift wrap it to him yet. And JD, he's standing at a space station like it's moon landing 2.0, reminding Copenhagen that this isn't your grandma's NATO anymore. Back at home, Secretary Linda McMahon is body slamming Maine Department of Education after discovering that they were, get this, secretly drawing up gender plans for kids without telling their parents. You want a WWE energy style cabinet? This Linda McMahon for you right there. Meanwhile, the Molotov cocktail guy, you guys remember him with the Tesla who tried to torch those Tesla stations in Las Vegas? He's now facing federal charges. Reminder, if you plan on saving the planet and it involves firebombing EVs, you probably skipped a few logic classes. But don't worry about it. Trump and the team said this is a zero tolerance policy. Zero tolerance means 20 years in the federal pen. Unlike Teslas, the cells that Hombre is going in, they're not going to have autopilot. Elsewhere, the lazy, illegal alien influencer. I don't know if you guys ever heard of him, but it's a real thing. He went viral for teaching people how to squat in homes. He just got deported to Venezuela. They have a new house guest now. So Venezuela got this new house guest, and all he needs to do is just tell Hugo, his new cellmate, thanks for the BJ. Oh, and Minnesota Governor Tim Walz is calling Trump's team a shadow government, which is rich coming from a guy whose own son thinks he's an absolute loser. Finally, shocking twist, the Trump administration just canceled $125 million in COVID grants to the city of Chicago, apparently using pandemic funds for climate equality festivals and healing circles wasn't quite the public health strategy that everybody was hoping for. So today we've got government fraud, gender ideology, geopolitical shade, taxpayer wins, Molotov cocktails, and TikTok deportations. Let's jump in. $40 million on Trump's oil and gas leases. Holy tamale. Drill, baby, drill. Drill, baby, drill. The Interior Department announced on Thursday that the first 3 months of 2025, the federal government brought in nearly $40 million. Come on, let's go. Drill, baby, drill. Let's go. Let's go. All right. Let me share this here. This development proves worth Donald Trump's vision to unleash American energy dominance. This is what top officials say. This quarter leases demonstrate Interior unwavering commitment to fostering American energy dominance. This is huge.
Yeah, Doug Burgum, Secretary of the Interior. Sir, thanks for coming on. You were the governor of North Dakota at that time. What do you remember?
Well, Bill, I took office on December 15th of November 16th, and at that time there was thousands of protesters camping illegally on federal land. This protest, there was a separate trial that showed that the Obama administration, which was still in office at that time, was putting their thumb on the scale on the side of the protesters, and this hurt. It hurt the tribe. It hurt their casino. It hurt their revenues. The local ranchers and farmers were being terrorized. The law was being broken every possible which way, not just trespassing, but human trafficking, sex trafficking, drug trafficking, ATF issues, arms issues. I mean, this place was a toxic mix of protests, all in there grifting and trying to grab national attention. And I'd say today's ruling is for the rule of law. I mean, in North Dakota, we understand free speech. We support free speech, but there's a difference between free speech and violence. And I think this is a timely and appropriate outcome from the jury.
660 million, no small sum there. Let's talk about oil. Let's talk about gas in America. There were at least 13 oil executives, big summit at the White House yesterday, meeting with the president. We can put on screen the names of those companies. They're big ones, seen all over the world, especially here. Chevron was there pushing access in Venezuela. I understand as we see the reveal. Let's go to the average price per gallon of regular gas. A year ago, $3.51. Today, it's down 39 cents to $3.12. From what I'm reading, the executives weren't really.
I want to know what is it where you're at right now? I know we've already talked about it, but let me know in the chat. Let me know in the comment section down below. What are gas prices right now where you're at?
Concerned about the price of gas. They were concerned about the speed of permitting. What was the response on that, and tell us why that's important?
Well, Bill, this is there's been a whole government attack against U.S. energy by the Biden administration, and it's been brought in every possible which way, not just protests, but in supporting protests, but also the regulatory regime. And the regulatory regime is not just about the production of more energy, but also the transportation, the pipelines, linear infrastructure ground to a halt under the Biden administration, the sale of leases on public land ground to a halt, and now in this room of innovators and job creators, because that's what those companies do. Together, they represent almost a $2 trillion of our economy, 11 million jobs. And energy isn't just an industry. Energy is the foundation of all other industries.
Drill, baby, drill.
Lower energy costs support lower prices in every category, whether it's the food you eat or the clothes you wear. And so a very productive conversation. But the highlight is, the regulatory regime is adding cost and adding cost to the production of energy, and that's ending up as cost to every American in everything they buy.
Well, drill, baby, drill. It's like music to their ears, I guess. We came across this story, sir, and I want to get your reaction to it. It had to do during the Biden years about natural gas and its exports, and apparently this story was pushed underground. Here are the headlines. Study found U.S. gas exports did not impact climate change. That's one headline.
Let me jump up.
Frankly, outright deception. Those are over. The Trump administration's about math, about data, and about the American people. They changed some assumptions around, made up some fictitious scenarios to sort of support their agenda. But that's just shameless. You can't mess with energy for political reasons. This is just critical to the American people.
Elections.
Yeah, you guys remember the Green New scam? The Green New scam? Joe Biden, Kamala Harris pushing that thing like it's spilt milk, spoiled milk. The Green New scam, the Green New Deal. California mandated everybody to go from gas stoves to electric stoves, mandating electric vehicles. I think people should have the choice to choose gas vehicle, electric vehicle, especially if you're talking about your house also. I know in California, out in Tracy, California particularly, all new homes, all new community homes are built only electric. And this is bananas to me because in California, they have what's known as brownouts and blackouts, where people, because of the wind, they shut the power off. California is a dump fire anyways, but bananas. And now, get this, people are protesting for oil, and they're also protesting for Elon. Pick a side. Pick a side. You want prosperity, you want cheaper gas, you want better grocery prices, but you don't want Elon. Pick a side, people.
With a different result. Maybe we don't know that. Did you know that?
Well, Chris Wright couldn't have said it better. I mean, this report that they found in the Department of Energy that had been suppressed had the exact opposite conclusions. Then a year later, the Biden administration came out with a new study that led to the pause in building, in improving export facilities for U.S. natural gas, which of course hurt Americans and hurt our allies in Western Europe, helped our adversaries that were in the oil and gas business. And so, again, it's not only unthinkable that they would suppress real, accurate information that would be beneficial to America, but they're doing things that was actually helping people that were funding wars against us.
Crazy. Let me jump back into this article real quick. Let me jump back into this article. Here it is, right here. So again, those of you that are just joining, Trump administration first oil and gas lease sales net nearly 40 million. Oh, here they go singing again. Jeez. Don't they have jobs?
Anti-Doge protesters there, defiant, but that is not stopping the Trump administration from pushing forward with its mission, and federal agencies are key in putting this all into motion. Secretary Doug Burgum's Department of Interior says it's, quote, completely embracing the Doge effort. How? Let's ask him ourselves. Doug Burgum joins us now. Mr. Secretary, thank you for joining us. Great to have you on the program today. So first up,
the state's pretty lean because states have to have balanced budgets. Even with the balanced budget pressure,
he believed with the federal government was worse than he ever could have imagined. Listen, and over is Alaska. Years ago, it was very.
Oh, here we go.
Policy of look but don't touch is depriving Alaskans of opportunity for earth minerals. Mike,
the new side.
So to that end, one small piece of that is Alaska. We're trying to cut a deal with Ukraine for rare earth minerals. Mike Dunleavy says, come to Alaska. We've got plenty of it. Here's what he said. Alaska is an energy giant. We're also a giant when it comes to critical minerals, rare earths, and the base metals essential to produce sustainable energy.
Any of you guys been to Alaska?
Administration's Alaska policy of look but don't touch is depriving Alaskans of opportunities for good-paying jobs and stifling Alaska's ability to provide for itself. That was the Biden administration. He came on our program a couple of years ago. He was very upset about it. This is a new day. There's a new sheriff in town. Will you allow Alaska to start mining these rare earth minerals?
Well, Alaska's a huge priority for us. Oil, gas, rare earth minerals, timber, fishing, everything across Alaska. Alaska's a huge resource for us. It's not a snow globe that you just look at, and it is half of those numbers that I gave you for the land and the subsurface and interior. Half of those acres are in Alaska. Alaska is bigger than California, Montana, Texas, and most of New Mexico combined. I mean, it is a huge resource for us. We've had multiple in-person, over the phone, and on video conference with Governor Mike Dunleavy. He's a friend of mine. We're both part of the Western governors that were under assault. The Biden administration sanctioned Alaska more than Iran. There were 68 executive orders stopping development.
Is that a long way of saying, yes, we're going to open it up?
Yeah, it's absolutely we are. And the president, not only he signed an emergency order for America on energy because we've got issues with our electrical grid, we've got issues with oil and gas, we've got issues with the minerals, but he signed a separate one about unleashing Alaska. It's one of the directives from the president to Chris Wright, Secretary of Energy, and myself is to get things going in Alaska. And one of them.
Alaska, one of the untouched places in the United States, the most untouched places. Have any of you guys been to Alaska? Let me know in the chat, and then also let me know in the comment section down below. Alaska is absolutely gorgeous. It is amazing. I've been to a few places in Alaska. And a lot of their jobs rely on mining oil and earth minerals. A lot of those people work in the refineries. A lot of those folks work, doing the oil and the gas situation. And I don't really know how that works, but they do that. And that's what drives a lot of those communities. I've actually been up to the North Pole in Alaska. Yes, it's a real place, North Pole, Alaska. Absolutely gorgeous. One of the most like top 5 beautiful things that I've ever seen is the Northern Lights. Absolutely amazing. Let me jump into the chat because I know you guys are chatting it up regarding the gas prices. What's up, Ozzy Greg? Ozzy Greg in the house. What is going on? Catherine says, I've had the weirdest week. Usually I sleep a lot for a few days now. I'm sleeping way past 3 p.m. That, she says, bizarre. I don't mind sleeping in, but the hustle is slipping. Girl, better get on it. Better get on it. The hustle is slipping at 3 p.m. It gets dark at 7. Anunnaki, I believe I said that correctly. Love your channel, Tyson. Thank you so much for all the great work. Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate you. Thank you. I really do. I'm glad that our president is working so hard to clean up all the cheating that's going on in Washington. He is draining the swamp. He is draining the swamp. $2.89 for gas in Washington. That's pretty good. Honestly, I probably haven't filled up. I have not filled up my car in a couple weeks. Actually, one fetus says, I love the profile name. $1.30. $2.58 in Alabama, $2.49 in Texas, $2.72 in Central Oklahoma. Awesome. Drill, baby, drill. It's back. California, LL. California, $6.95. Golly. You got to get out of there. I'm not telling you what to do, but California is in a definite deficit. What part of California are you in, LL? 649. Yeah. Gosh. Or 695, excuse me, 695. Terry in the house. Green New Deal couldn't pass, so Dems repackaged it as the Inflation Reduction Act. It did everything but reduce inflation. You're absolutely right. It just pumped it up. Just pumped up the inflation. Crazy. Little Santana, AK has millions of acres, never been touched by man. Yep. Yeah. It's crazy. You're out in Alaska, right? Alaska is absolutely gorgeous. I actually own in the North Pole. I think it's like a 2-inch by 2-inch section. It's something that you get like Santa, you request it, and then Santa sends you the deed for this small piece in the North Pole. So I own a little bit of the North Pole, guys. I'm an official landowner of the North Pole. Ricardo in the house. Gas in Illinois keeps going up. $3.39. What is going on? What is going on? Gina WY says we need to have patience on prices. Patience is a virtue. Absolutely. 100%. Let me give my chimes for that because that's absolutely true. Absolutely true. I don't know why I did that. Anyways, let's jump into this next topic here. We got our man, the myth, the legend, JD Vance. JD Vance handling Greenland security. him and his wife went out to Greenland and they said, let's get it.
I have something that will change everything.
I want to buy Greenland.
You'll make them an offer they simply can't refuse.
We really just buy Greenland? I believe there's a way.
This is a man who does not take no for an answer.
What does a man do?
He fights.
This is not the end. It's just the beginning.
Vice President J.D. Vance on Friday slammed Denmark for failing to prioritize Greenland's security, escalating rhetoric between Washington. Vance made his remarks at the space station northwest of Greenland, and there was some pretty cool imagery that came out of this. There was some really neat imagery that came out of this. I'm a fan of JD. Initially, I wasn't, but I'm glad he's doing what he's doing. Let's jump into this Greenland situation here. So check this out, guys.
Hey guys, how we doing? Please, at ease. At ease. Good Lord, sit down and eat. Sit down and eat. Don't let the Vice President stop you guys from getting your chow here. How we doing? It's cold as shit here. Nobody told me. Well, thank you all for everything you do, and thanks for having us. So please sit down, guys. Please, please. I wish you'd eat your food. Usha and I are thrilled to be here. It's a really beautiful flight, actually. You fly over some pretty cool spots. I've never been to Greenland. Apparently, I'm the first Vice President to ever visit Greenland, so that's a pretty cool thing. But we're looking forward to hanging out and getting to know you guys and understanding what you do. So I think what do we have? So we're gonna talk to the command and some of the guardians about what exactly the base does and all the important ways it contributes to national security. We're gonna get a briefing, of course, about what you guys do every day, and then we're gonna talk just about, as you've heard, we have some interest in Greenland from the Trump administration. So we're gonna talk a little bit about that with our friends in the media. But I just want to say thank you all. Thanks for having us, and thanks for being here. Thanks for doing what you do. The colonel told me that this is a one-year unaccompanied duty station. When we were flying in, we were wondering whether you guys were allowed to bring your families here. So I know it's a lot of sacrifice to spend a year away from your families, but the mission is really important. The Trump administration, the president is really interested in Arctic security. As you all know, that's a big issue, and it's only going to get bigger over the coming decades. So thanks for doing what you do. What's the plan here? So I thought I was serving food, but it looks like everyone already got their food. What's the plan from here, guys? I'm sorry? Okay.
JD Vance, I'm going to jump into the presser that he had with JD Vance where he took some questions from the press while he was at Greenland. Billy Bravo says $3.86 for gas at Costco in Las Vegas. Shout out. Shout out. Honestly, I was having a conversation with my mom, and she was talking about the entire Trump administration. You didn't see any of this from the Biden administration. They were contained in their little bubble. They didn't do any pressers. They didn't visit anything. If you guys remember correctly, Kamala Harris, the quote unquote worst border czar ever, never visited the border except when she went and she was running for her the presidency. It was like 1,000-something, 100-odd days where the quote-unquote border czar finally visited the border. And the entire time they said the border's secure, the border's secure. It wasn't secure. Joey B was just, he was waking up at 5 a.m., 6 a.m., whatever, taking a nap at 11, eating ice cream at 2, changing his diaper at 3, and then that was his day.
And let me say just a couple of other things, and then we'll take some questions from the reporters. So number one, I think a lot of Americans wonder, why does Greenland matter so much? Why does the mission of this base matter so much to the American people? And I learned a lot about that today myself. Of course, you can read about it in a book, but I saw it up close and personal. And if, God forbid, to my fellow Americans, if a missile was fired from an enemy country or an enemy submarine into the United States, it is the people here before us who would give notice to our brave men and women further south in the United States to let people know what was coming and God willing to try to shoot it down and prepare for it. That's one of the things that we do at installations like this. We know that Russia and China and other nations are taking an extraordinary interest in Arctic passageways and Arctic naval routes, and indeed in the minerals of the Arctic territories. We need to ensure that America is leading in the Arctic, because we know that if America doesn't, other nations will fill the gap where we fall behind. So what you guys do is so critically important. I think a lot of Americans, certainly I, didn't realize it fully until President Trump started talking about the importance of our Arctic mission, about building upon it and ensuring that America can lead in the Arctic for the next generation. And now I want to talk about, of course, the interaction and what Denmark, I think, has done, and sometimes in partnership with us. But let's be honest, what Denmark over the last 20 years has failed to do in some cases, because we know that unfortunately this place, this base, the surrounding area is less secure than it was 30, 40 years ago, because some of our allies haven't kept up. As China and Russia have taken greater and greater interest in Greenland, in this base, in the activities of the brave Americans right here, we know that too often our allies in Europe have not kept pace. They haven't kept pace with military spending, and Denmark has not kept pace in devoting the resources necessary to keep this base, to keep our troops, and in my view, to keep the people of Greenland safe from a lot of very aggressive incursions from Russia, from China, and from other nations. Now, President Trump, as he says all the time, and as a lot of people recognize, is a president of peace. We want to have good relationships with everybody. That includes, even to the extent possible, the Chinese and the Russians. But part of having good relations is showing your strength when you have to. And unfortunately, the story of Greenland over the past 20 years when it comes to security is that we've underinvested in the infrastructure, we've underinvested in the security architecture, and we've underinvested in the brave men and women who are doing a very hard job, as Mike said, to keep all of us safe. That has to change. Now, when I pointed out a couple of weeks ago that in some ways, with all due respect to our Danish allies, they had not kept pace, there was a lot of criticism from Denmark, a lot of attacks at the Trump administration, at the president, at me, at others in our administration for saying the obvious, which is that Denmark hasn't done a good job at keeping Greenland safe. And one of the things I heard was, well, what about the many Danes who lost their lives in the war on terror fighting alongside the United States? Well, look, we obviously honor the sacrifice of our Danish friends in the war on terror 20 years ago, just as, for example, the French honor the sacrifice of Americans in Normandy 80 years ago. But recognizing that there are important security partnerships in the past does not mean that we can't have disagreements with allies in the present about how to preserve our shared security for the future. And that's what this is about. There is no amount of bullying, no amount of obfuscating, no amount of confusing the issue. Our message to Denmark is very simple. You have not done a good job by the people of Greenland. You have underinvested in the people of Greenland, and you have underinvested in the security architecture of this incredible, beautiful landmass filled with incredible people. That has to change. And because it hasn't changed, this is why President Trump's policy in Greenland is what it is. It's consistent with the first Trump administration, where you saw significant investments in Arctic security, and it will continue over the next 4 years under President Trump's leadership. And let me finally, before I kick it over to the media, make one comment about the people of Greenland. The colonel here, the base commander, who came here first as a second lieutenant, and I guess, Colonel, this is your second duty station here, and we're proud of you and proud of all of you guys who are serving and helping keep us safe. I heard a lot about the respect that our American troops show for the local Greenlandic population, the way that we make and create shelter for hunters and dog sledders, the way that we found ways to turn over traditional tribal land to some of the local populations in order to ensure that they're able to live in accordance with their values. We respect, as the president said in his State of the Union address, we respect the self-determination of Greenlanders. We believe in the self-determination of the population of the people of Greenland. And our argument is very simple. It is not with the people of Greenland, who I think are incredible and have an incredible opportunity here. Our argument really is with the leadership of Denmark, which is underinvested in Greenland and underinvested in its security architecture.
They got Chinese and Russia ships all over the place floating around.
That simply must change. It is the policy of the United States that will change. And I'm proud to be able to stand here with so many brave Americans to better understand the security mission and better understand what you guys do each and every day. For that, I'm grateful for your service. I'm even more grateful. I love you guys. I'm proud of you guys. And President Trump stands behind you. And
JD Vance continued and he said, you know, we need Greenland. It's very important for international security purposes. We got to have Greenland. Can't have Russian ships, China ships, Russia ships floating around all over the place. They've done not a good job at securing the area. I'm going to jump into the comments. LJ writes, a growing interest from Russia and China. Its location is near potential trade routes increases its importance to the United States 100%. Yep. What's up, Kayla? Kayla in the house. How many of you guys like JD Vance, by the way? JD Vance is spot on. What's going on, Stacy? Aloha. Based on this, Denmark's king issued a statement of support on social media. We live in an alternate reality. Excuse me. There should be no doubt that my love for Greenland. This is what King Frederick said. U.S. Delegation also includes Vance and his wife, National Security Advisor Mike Walz, and Energy Secretary Chris White. Right, excuse me. The initial plan and the trip for Vance and his wife was to visit a dog sled race and then also head to this base. There's been some backlash. Public protesters are outraged from authorities, both in Greenland and Denmark, prompting U.S. delegation. It has to be secure. Deshaun says, JD Vance 2028. Risking my biscuit. We're about to jump into that. Make WWE great again. Be sure to smash the like button if you kindly would. It does help with the YouTube algorithms. Let's jump into this next topic here. Linda McMahon announces investigation into Maine. Linda McMahon announces an investigation in the Maine Department of Education for secretly creating gender plans to help kids transition behind their parents' back. What? WTF? What the? You already know. Secretly creating gender plans to help kids transition behind their parents' back. What would you guys do if one of your kids was secretly transitioning behind your back? You know, if you're a good parent, you would know right off the jump. You'd be like, yo, what is going on here? My teacher said it's okay. No, your teacher is not me. Your teacher is not your father. Your teacher is not your mother.
Secretary of Education Linda McMahon, joined by Parents Defending Education founder and president Nicole Neely. Today, the Department of Education is announcing an unprecedented directed investigation into the Maine Department of Education for alleged violations of the Family Educational Rights Privacy Act, or FERPA. We have heard disturbing reports that dozens of Maine school districts allow for schools to create gender plans that support a student's transgender identity and then hide those plans from parents, claiming they don't fall under education records. That is unacceptable and unlawful, if true. Parents and guardians have the right to access their child's education records to guide and safeguard their child's mental, emotional, and physical well-being, and we will uphold the law.
Thank you, Secretary McMahon. You are absolutely correct that parents have a right to know what is taking place while their children are under the care of school personnel.
I would be pissed off if this was going on. This is why public school is failing. Of course, parents have the right to know what's going on with their child or children.
No. So many of these complaints were ignored by the previous administration. The practice of leaving parents in the dark while schools push students to undergo so-called gender transitions, and it became all too common. We're proud to stand with you and President Trump as you ensure that the law is being followed and that school districts do not infringe on parents' rights.
This is bananas to me. It is absolutely bananas to say that I don't have the right for my child's information. And honestly, if we're talking about elementary school people, elementary school children, middle school children, they can't even smoke, they can't drink. I thought I could fly when I was in elementary school. That doesn't mean I'm going to transition.
Thank you so much for joining us today. I think that's a little bit of background on how we got here to sort of national outrage over how things are going. How long do you think it will be, given the process that you have to take up, to really see the end of the Department of Education?
Well, Martha, first of all, thanks for having me this
you.
afternoon. I think the president's been crystal clear. It was a campaign message of his, and he hasn't backed off at all on closing down the Department of Education. Now, clearly, we must do this with Congress. I want to be in partners with Congress. I want to show them what the plan is for shutting down the department and convince them that it's in the best interest of students to what we'd like to do. We want to raise scores, not continue to let scores get lower. And the president is really convinced that the bureaucracy of the Department of Education is a hindrance in that. And he would like to see more of the funds that are now caught up in overhead and bureaucratic red tape go directly into the states so that there's more money actually for the programs for states.
So what's the process? How soon will we see a vote? How much support do you need in Congress? We haven't seen too many agencies close. People aren't used to watching how this plays out. So tell us.
Well, we'd have to have 60 votes in the Senate to do that.
Yeah.
And
we get that?
Well, we're going, as I said, we're going to partner with Congress. I've already talked to some of the senators about what we would like to do. I've heard some of their concerns. I want to address them as we move along, because there are plenty of programs that we can put into place that can transfer very easily. And what I would like to do is to make sure that as we, as the president says, send education back to the states, that we are providing the states with tools and best practices so that they can look at what's been successful in many other states that has raised their scores. We just got the NAEP scores at the end of January. That's the nation's report card. And we saw the state of Louisiana come up, I think they were number one in improvement in bringing their scores up. We had the Mississippi Miracle, in which those readers and their literacy tests came literally from almost bottom in the country to.
This is what I tell folks too with kids, right? And you're living in a blue state and you find that your education system isn't working for you and your family. You got to make a decision. If you're going to move out of that state to provide better education and better safety for your family, you got to do what's best for you. Bring the education back to states. The Department of Education is finito burrito. Linda McMahon isn't going to have a job much longer, but they are demolishing the Department of Education. Linda McMahon also says that student loans used to be in the private sector. It was President Obama that brought it in and put it into the Department of Education, which is not a bank. Linda McMahon has been going on a presser here.
If you had to figure out what the education department does in terms of budget, it seems like the bulk of it is promoting college, university, Pell Grants, loans.
Yeah, this just
College is a. We'll jump back into this video, but college is something else. I think trade schools are very underrated.
just about it. It was almost, I think it was a little more than 40% of what the budget was, and the people in the Department of Education were really relative to student loans. And, that student loans used to be in the private sector. It was President Obama that brought it in and put it into the Department of Education, which is not a bank. So all of the collection process, et cetera, is all done through outside vendors, which you pay middleman fee to help to have that happen. So my view, and I've had good conversations with Secretary Bessent, and also the president and I and Scott Besson have had conversations with Kelly Loeffler from SBA. So is there a mechanism that would be in place that would better serve this? And so in terms of collection process, et cetera, Treasury does that really well. And there is clearly a good acceptance from Scott's point of view that this would be a place to house. New loans going forward, we might consider looking at SBA to have sort of a guarantee program, but that's really, really in future conversations. First of all, we want to make sure this collection process is working because, believe it or not, and I know COVID threw a wrench into things, but since March of 2020, right around COVID time, there has not been any collection for outstanding student loans. And why would they have? The Biden administration was saying, we're going to forgive your loans.
Right.
You remember that?
Tried to circumvent the Supreme Court and their rulings to forgive other loans. And it's just not fair to all taxpayers to have them pay for student loans when they might have paid their own, or their own taxpayer dollars should be spent in other ways rather than forgiving loans, except for service agreements, which
that was a big old thing with Biden. Hey, we're going to forgive the student loans. We're going to forgive the student loans. Nobody made payments on the student loans. High interest rate student loans. How many of you guys in the chat, how many of you guys watching this on a replay know people that got college degrees for underwater basket weaving or agricultural professional singing degree, performing arts degree, and they are thousands and thousands of dollars in debt? This is why I say trade schools, me personally, my personal opinion, trade schools are undervalued. I think trade schools are going to be of high value here in the near future because we're moving to a technology-based economy. And these trades, like people that actually use their hands, are going to be very high value here in the near future, but undervalued currently. I'm going to jump into the comments. Laying the smack down on Maine. Somebody says, or Fetus says, I would end up in prison. I would too, if a teacher was saying that my kid could transition behind my back. They're too young. It's not even, it shouldn't even be a thing. Shouldn't even be a thing. Risking my biscuit. It happened to my sister. School gave her a trans counselor instead of a normal counselor. They were pushing this DEI crap. The Biden administration was all about that. If you think back about remember this whole controversy too with the Christmas lights. I don't know what they were doing. Terry said, I would drive 2 hours to my kid's school and raise hell. Amen. LJ writes, pull Maine's funding now. What is up, Christina? Christina in the house. Homeschool is the way to go. Yes. I know a lot of people that used that pulled kids out of schools to strictly do homeschool. Oh, man. Let me make sure I catch up on the comments. Homeschool. Yep. I'll never forget. Let's see. Gender studies. Patrick Kennedy says, I got a shitty degree and paid for it with the VA loans. Oh man. JD Vance 2028. Amen to that. Amen to that. Some people aren't making a living with their underwater basking degree, underwater weaving basket degree. Some people don't even. I originally went to school for fine art. That didn't last very long. That didn't last very long. Make sure you smash the like button. It does help with the YouTube algorithms. All right. Speaking on this topic here. Oh boy. Oh boy. You already see the bottom fold right here. 2 trans inmates ordered back to a women's prison. I can't make this up. A fictional novel can't even make this up here. 2 trans women inmates ordered back to a women's prison. Reagan appointed judge injunction. Transgender inmates who were moved from a women's prison to an all-male facility after President Donald Trump executive order mandated inmates live in the facility corresponding with their biological sex. Donald Trump was asked today by a reporter. He said, "Hey, can you define a woman?" He said, "Yes, women are entities or beings that can have babies." Donald Trump executive order mandated inmates to live in facilities corresponding with their biological sex. Are now being sent back to a women's prison after a judge issued a preliminary injunction. This photo right here is an actual inmate.
Morning at the top of the hour, the Trump administration pausing nearly $200 million in federal funding to one top university. Fox Business's Hillary Vaughn right now, live from trading. When this is just to do damage, $1 billion to do damage control and erase diversity, equity, and inclusion from their websites. The Penn Athletics Department scrubbed their DEI page that detailed their policy to include transgender athletes. If Penn ends up losing all federal funding, that would be a gut punch. Penn received $1 billion of taxpayer dollars last school year. The university leadership, in an open letter on March 10th, acknowledged the potential funding issues, writing, quote, "Changes to Maria, I asked the Biden administration about the hole in their budget that they need to fill, and it could get even bigger." Maria? All right, Hillary, thanks very much.
Sorry about that. I'll just read the article because here it is right here. Sorry about that, guys.
Breaking news this morning at the
Oh
top
my
of the
gosh. I'm all. U.S. District Judge Royce Lamberth in Washington issued an injunction last week after 2 inmates identified in the courtroom documents as Rachel and Ellen Doe were added as plaintiffs in the lawsuit against Trump executive orders and nearly dozens of other inmates. I agree with this. At least 15 prisoners are now protected by the orders blocking or reversed the transfer of the Associated Press report. I thought I had a clip lined up. I guess I didn't have a clip. Sorry about that, guys. I guess I didn't have a clip lined up. My bad. The prisons are the prisons are privately owned. Can't female inmates file suit against the prisons? They possibly could. I think because prisons are privately owned. This is why there's so much crap going on in some of these prisons. Some of these folks are paying up the yay on their commissary monies for ramen and bags of chips and phone calls. It's wild. At the end of the fiscal year 2024, January 30th or June 30th, 2024, University of Pennsylvania total net assets were $31 billion. I'm just yelling at the end. Oh man. All right. The Tesla arson suspect faces federal charges. He better start doing some Kegels. And tighten up his butthole because he's going to be in the federal pen for 20 years. Giving BJs and butt hugs to folks. Anyways, the Las Vegas man was charged charged in the Molotov cocktail attack that torched several Teslas at the dealership last week. Paul Kim, 36-year-old, was arrested in Las Vegas by the Metropolitan Police Department.
An arrest in that Tesla dealership firebombing. Let's listen in.
Based on the updated evidence that we have, we now have a better understanding, a more comprehensive understanding of what actually happened. And I'm going to provide some details as we walk through a little bit of a timeline on what occurred and then what we know about the suspect now. So we'll begin with just talking about how the suspect arrived. He arrived east of the location in a vehicle, showed up in a black sedan just parked east of the Tesla Collision Center. You can see on this video clip here, we highlighted the area because it's at the top of your screen. And you'll be able to see the arrival of the vehicle. You'll be able to see that the vehicle comes in, originally driving westbound where you can see the headlights, and then turns around where you can see the taillights, and he reverses back into where he parks.
Homie's driving a Hyundai, too.
The suspect then proceeds on foot and approaches the corner of the building. As you've seen before, and as you've probably heard, and certainly as we're showing today, he attempted to mask his identity by wearing black attire, concealing his face, and wearing gloves. The suspect then began shooting the surveillance cameras with what appeared to be a rifle. You can see an image here of the suspect pointing the rifle towards the camera. At least 2 surveillance cameras were damaged by gunfire. And then upon shooting the cameras, the suspect proceeded to the front doors of the Tesla, and he began spray painting the words "resist" across the doors. I'll let this video play because you'll get a better shot of the suspect. You can see his description as he goes across the clear doors there, committing his act of crime. Once he finishes spray painting the words "resist" on the doors, he then approaches multiple Tesla vehicles that were parked in the front of the center. He proceeded to shoot into each vehicle and used a Molotov cocktail to set the vehicles on fire. We'll play a few video clips here to kind of show you his behavior. You can see him right there in the dark clothing. He casually walks over to his first vehicle that's targeted. He will soon put down his backpack onto the ground. And then he transitions to the firearm. And you'll see him shoot into the vehicle. Once he shoots into the vehicle, he ends up going back from the vehicle to the bag and then back to the car, presumably picking up his item that he used to be able to firebomb the vehicle. We believe that was a Molotov cocktail. And you'll see in a moment here, the vehicle will ignite and ultimately fully engulf, causing severe damage. The suspect then continues on to a second vehicle, and you can see here, he's on to the second target. He'll do very similar behavior where he shoots into the vehicle, he goes into the backpack, retrieves an item, and ultimately you'll notice here that he ends up getting the second vehicle on fire as well.
Dummy.
From there, he then proceeds to his third vehicle, repeats the same type of activity. One of the incendiary devices he was not able to ignite, which is one of the devices that we were able to recover. But ultimately, 5 vehicles were damaged, to include 3 of which were fully destroyed. You can see images of the vehicles here. And then you'll see here a drone video. This is from our Skydio drone, being able to provide an overview of the damage as well. After this, the suspect then proceeds and flees east, gets in his vehicle, and leaves the area. As I mentioned earlier, this case has been worked around the clock, and Sheriff McMahon and Special Agent in Charge Spencer Evans have made it a top priority for our organization and put a tremendous amount of workforce behind it to make sure that this was dealt with in a quick manner. Because of that, in 8 days around the clock with our teams, we were able to identify the suspect's vehicle as a black Hyundai Elantra.
Dummy. Don't you know Hyundai just invested into the United States?
You'll see a photo here. But what's important to point out here is that this was achieved through an exhaustive review of surveillance material, analytical data, and a canvas of over 700 locations across the valley.
They got your
ultimately
butt,
allowing us
dude.
to piece together critical
So does
evidence
Hugo.
with speed and precision. You can see on this image here, this is just one example of many where we're using flock technologies to be able to identify the type of vehicle, including very specific features of the vehicle. Social media group, as well as social media groups called Revolutionary Communist International, Hidden Palestine, Palestine Action, and a variety of other social media groups. That is part of our investigation, is to dig further into it and to be able to determine additional motive and other potential concerns.
They brainwashed this dude. He thought he was cultivating a revolution. Meanwhile, he's going to get 20 years in the federal pen. This dude is what, 30-something years old? He's not going to get out till he's 50-something years old. Dude was claiming his car was stolen at the crime. He's not going to get out till 50-something years old. He thought he was going to get away with this, blah, blah, blah. Nobody's going to remember you, man. You did this for what? For what? You really thought this dude is an idiot. He's a dummy. Absolutely. You thought that you were going to go to a Tesla dealership, Tesla, a data company that just happens to manufacture vehicles, and get away with this. He's an idiot. Idiot. Stupid.
At this point in time, the suspect was placed immediately on 24/7 surveillance by our specialized units to ensure public safety and preserve evidence. Additional evidence was collected as we continued our investigation, and the suspect was ultimately arrested yesterday evening. A search warrant was then obtained and served by the LVMPD SWAT team, which is by far one of the best, if not the best, SWAT teams in the country. They were able to do that safely and quickly. And as a part of their operation, we were able to conduct searches of 2 vehicles linked to the suspect's apartment, and we were also able to collect a buccal swab for DNA to be able to compare that to the DNA that we recovered from the scene. Our searches revealed numerous items of interest, to include multiple rifles, a shotgun, a handgun, and miscellaneous gun parts. You can see a photo to my left of some of the items that were recovered. We also were able to recover ammunition in multiple calibers, to include the caliber that was used in the crime. We also recovered numerous electronic devices, which our partners at the FBI are quickly analyzing. We also recovered a black gun belt with a pouch that had pink paint residue on it. You can see a photo of that to my left, as well as a black backpack with pink paint, face masks, and other articles of clothing that are consistent with the suspect's description.
This dude's a dummy.
We also recovered other key pieces of evidence that we're still evaluating at this time that do connect the suspect to this attack.
He's a dummy. Resist. Brainwashed, thought he could go into this dealership, cause all this type of harm, all this other stuff. Nobody's going to, I don't know if he was doing this so he can be remembered, but nobody's going to remember you, bro. You're going to go to jail. The only person that's going to remember you is that dude that slammed you against the wall and did your booty dirty. That's just what it is. Because homie looks like he takes it. Just my personal opinion. Idiot. Nobody's going to remember you. Deshaun says, this makes me want to buy a Tesla. Absolutely. Me too. Me too. I'm looking to get one. His booty's going to be loose. Loose Booty after 20 years. That's his new name. Paul Loose Booty Kim. Oh, man. Sorry, I know that's gross. But hey, that's the truth. It's the truth. Yeah, nobody's going to remember this guy. Stacy writes, this dude's a moron. Yeah. Private property. Idiot. LJ writes, I love Elon, but I couldn't give him I couldn't give me an EV. Patrick Kennedy, booty and pirates. Yeah, this absolutely makes me want to get a Tesla. I saw the new Model Y today, 2025 Model Y. It looks clean. It looks great. All right, next up, we got this lazy, illegal alien influencer who squats in homes. This dude last year was telling he gained like 4 million followers or 4 million views, teaching illegal migrants how to squat in homes.
National, dubbed the migrant influencer, is at the center of controversy this morning. He has been using TikTok to coach migrants how to live in the U.S. by taking advantage of laws protecting squatters. Hannah Doba reports.
In his most recent controversial TikTok video, Moreno is telling his followers to avoid living on the streets in the United States. They can, quote, invade empty homes and live there, saying under U.S. law, if a house is uninhabited, it can be seized, referring to squatting rights in our country. That video garnered almost 4 million views.
As we have more migrants moving into cities, more homelessness, we are going to see more of it, more squatting.
James Burling is a property rights attorney.
But they're talking about all the advantages that you can get from squatting. It's inevitable that it's going to increase.
In past videos, the illegal migrant bragged that he came to the United States to vacation and now lives off U.S. taxpayers because he had a child in this country. He also tells his followers that he waits for Americans' hard-earned pension checks to come in every month. In another video, he is urging fellow Venezuelans to pay the fines of a 15-year-old migrant who allegedly shot a tourist in Times Square, saying, quote, today it could be him, tomorrow it could be one of you. But this recent video on squatting is making headlines as Moreno tells his comrades that if they fix up an abandoned home that is deteriorated or in bad condition, they can get credits when the properties are sold. While Burling says that is not the case, the misinformation is now out there.
Well, I think publicity, like what we're seeing in TikTok.
So this dude was telling his followers to squat in people's homes. And guess what? Guess what? He's getting deported. The freeloading, illegal migrant influencer who last year pushed other invaders to seize American homes have been sent back. New York Post reported on Friday that this illegal migrant was sent back to Venezuela. Good. Teaching people how to steal people's homes. It's crazy. After successfully invading America and escaping apprehension, Moreno posted various videos on TikTok beginning in March 2024 to instruct his fellow illegals how to invade American homes and invoke squatter rights. Squatter rights only apply in specific areas or in specific states. Here in Nevada, squatters don't really have any rights. But if you're living in California, if you're living in New York City, squatters have rights. But it's crazy to me that squatters have rights. They can do something, what's called adverse possession also, if they back pay the taxes. I've heard some stories about people renting an Airbnb and then all of a sudden they're squatting in it. But this hombre got deported. Hombre got deported. Yeah, presumably he's still alive. I don't know. He looks like an El Salvadorian prisoner. Yeah. Yeah, good riddance. Adios, amigo. See you later. He's back in Venezuela. I love it. He's a smug little POS. Yeah, not every state has squatters' rights. I know in heavy blue states, California, New York, have squatters' rights. Here in Nevada, you just get them out. And I'm assuming what he's referring to is these. A lot of times when homes are vacant, either they're going into foreclosure or going through a foreclosure process, or somebody had died or passed away, so the house has been vacant for a long time. People tend to go in those homes and just lay nests there. And what happens is when that home goes up for auction or a person purchases it, they do what's called cash for keys. They say, hey, I just bought this house. What do you need? What we got to come to an agreement to get you out this house. You can get them out here in Nevada, but generally, what I've done in the past is something called cash for keys. I give them a couple bucks or whatever I need to do to get them out so they don't destroy the property further. But if the property is an absolute crap show, I don't care. I don't care. Like if it's an absolute mess, then I'll just kick them out. I'll just call the cops. But some of these squatters, there's professional squatters. There's a full Facebook group teaching people how to squat. They give you locations of particular homes and they show you how to squat. You change your address on your driver's license. It's bananas. Yep. Squatters' rights, also known as adverse possession, exists in 50 states, but the specific requirements and timeframes vary greatly. Absolutely. With adverse possession, sometimes you can back pay the taxes for 5 to 7 years, 5 years, and then there's a 2-year right of redemption period. Anyways. Squatters also move in when you leave for a week. Yeah, that's crazy. Yep. Crazy. So adios, amigo. All right, our boy, Timmy Tampon Walz. Our favorite loser. Timmy Tampon Walz is back in the news.
And then they brought in Tim Walz, the secret weapon. Whoopsie daisy. They brought him in, did you know, to appeal to straight white men? They're like, we need somebody to get that masculine, toxic, resting January 6th face vote. And they're like, bring out Tim. He's like, you get a tampon, only the guys. You get a tampon.
So Timmy Tampon Walz is back in the news here. You guys remember this? His family didn't even vote for him. They don't even want him. And now his son calls him a loser. Tim's on a tour now. He's like, he talked to his son, and here's what his son had to say.
18-year-old Gus, and I'm with Gus out there, and I'm having one of those dad talks with him. I was giving Gus my wisdom on what he had done wrong. I was being, because I know these things, right? I'm the dad. In the middle of it, he gives me the old, says the guy who got his ass kicked by Donald Trump. And I'm like, okay.
Nobody likes you, Tim. Nobody likes you. Oh, man. Yeah, Catherine, go ahead and email me tonight. Yeah, please do. I was actually looking in my emails for it. Yeah, it took his son a long time to realize that his dad's a loser. What a horrible campaign they ran. They ran a horrible campaign. Oh, yeah, he's VP material, right? Oh, I can smell diapers from Tim. I was going to pull. Do you guys remember when he did the debate with JD Vance? When I was setting up for this live, I came across the old footage of Timmy Tampon Walz and JD Vance. And remember, the moderators of the debate were like, actually, you weren't in Tiananmen Square. You didn't do this. And he's like, well, I often misspeak. My wife's an English teacher, and I often misspeak. Bro. Could you imagine? Oh boy. All right, let me run through the chat real quick. Oh, she's ready. The dog's ready. R's ready. Say what's up. She's ready to play. She's been such a good girl today. Yeah, Catherine, go ahead and email me if you need my email address. I'll place it. I think you have it from last time. Let me run through this chat. Too dumb to keep his mouth shut. Yeah, absolutely. Stacey R, explain to me how she can start with $2 billion in her campaign and end up owing $20 million. Who does this? Kamala Harris does it. But you know what? She puts her head down and she gets to work. She gets to work. That's what Doug said. She's not getting to work on you, Doug. Okay? She got to work on Montel Williams. But she's not getting to work with Dougie Doug. Dougie Doug is getting to work with Tampon Tim. Mr. Jazz Hands. Oh man. The pup just actually laid right in front of me here. She's ready to play. But anyways, guys, I appreciate you guys rocking with me this Friday evening. Super awesome show. Super awesome chat. You guys are some of the best, period. Hands down, end of story, some of the best chat on YouTube. Hands down. Hands down. So shout out to the moderators. Here she comes. Here she is. And then shout out to everybody that's catching this on the live. And if you're catching this on the replay, type in replay in the comment section. LJ writes, before I jump off, LJ writes, I spent $1,000 at the vet in Vegas on Wednesday. A steak bone didn't digest well enough. Oh man. Yeah, I don't give her much steak bones. I do give her some steak though. She likes the steak. I hope the pup's doing okay. Shout out to Ozzy Greg for the super chat. Really appreciate you, Ozzy Greg. Thank you so much. I love the profile pic. Don't change the profile pic. That's how Nancy Pelosi looked when she thought the stock of Tesla was going to remain low. All right, guys, I am out of here. Be sure to smash the like button, share, subscribe, and I will be back on Monday, 6 p.m. PST. I'll drop some videos this weekend also. Smash the like button, share, subscribe, and I'll catch you on the next one. Appreciate you guys so much.